movie The Reluctant Saint can be viewed through the lens of A Course in Miracles as a story about innocence misunderstood by the world, the undoing of self-concept, and the quiet conflict between worldly ambition and inner listening. The central tension in the film revolves around Joseph of Cupertino appearing foolish, incapable, distracted, impractical, and socially inadequate according to the standards around him. In worldly terms, he is considered deficient. That is immediately relevant to ACIM because the ego's world worships achievement, intelligence as status, productivity, comparison, image management, social competence, ambition. Joseph does not fit the script, and because he does not fit, he becomes a projection screen for embarrassment, judgment, pity, and frustration. Repeatedly points toward the idea that the world values exactly the opposite of truth. The ego builds identity through differentiation and performance. So someone who does not compete well inside that system can appear less than. Yet the film quietly reverses the hierarchy. Joseph's simplicity becomes openness. His innocence becomes receptivity. His lack of strategic self-construction leaves him more available to devotion and direct experience. That does not mean incompetence is holiness. The movie can be misunderstood that way. Is not anti-intelligence or anti-functionality. Rather, it questions the worship of self-concept. Joseph is not trying to manufacture a spiritual persona. In fact, he often seems uncomfortable with attention and recognition. That matters. The ego can easily turn spirituality into performance. Look how holy I am. Look how awakened. Look how special my experiences are. But Joseph's holiness is portrayed more as transparency than achievement. There is almost a childlike absence of calculation in him. The levitation scenes are fascinating symbolically through ACIM. Taken literally, they can become spectacle and spiritual glamour, but symbolically they represent consciousness becoming less bound to worldly heaviness. The ego is gravity, guilt, shame, striving, self-importance, fear, personal identity. Joseph Rising reflects moments where devotion eclipses self-consciousness. In mystical language, he forgets himself, and in ACIM, forgetting the ego self is not loss, but release. The film also explores the discomfort institutions have with genuine spiritual spontaneity. Church authorities often do not know what to do with him. That mirrors a recurring human pattern. Living systems prefer predictability and control. Genuine inspiration disrupts structures because it cannot be fully managed. Even spiritual communities can become invested in appearance, rank, ritual identity, and correctness. ACIM constantly warns about confusing form for content. Two people can say holy words, one from performance, one from genuine extension. Externally similar, internally different. Joseph's sincerity exposes that contrast. There's also a deeper psychological honesty available here. Joseph's reluctance matters. Many films about saints flatten them into idealized certainty, but reluctance humanizes the process. There is vulnerability in being seen differently from the world. There is discomfort in surrendering control over one's image. It is actually deeply destabilizing to the ego because it dismantles the identity structures we use to navigate approval and survival. The ego asks, how am I perceived? Spirit asks, what am I extending? Very different orientation. The film also touches a central theme, the distinction between worldly success and inner peace. Joseph appears unsuccessful by conventional standards, yet inwardly there's increasing devotion, joy, humility, and trust. Meanwhile, many successful figures around him remain anxious, defensive, status-oriented, or conflicted. That reversal echoes ACIM's teaching that the world's metrics cannot measure truth. And perhaps the deepest parallel is this. Joseph's innocence is constantly mistaken for weakness, but innocence is not naivete. It is freedom from the compulsive need to defend a separate self-image. The ego experiences that as vulnerability or foolishness, yet the film suggests something radical. The less defended he becomes, the lighter he becomes, not merely physically in the levitations, but psychologically and spiritually. The reluctant saint is not becoming more impressive. He is becoming less burdened by the effort to be someone.